Welcome to my assassin starter build for WOLCEN, you sneaky bastards. As you might have expected, the first build of mine is going to be an assassin type build, since I love these archetypes the most. This build is around level 30, and that's why I call it a starter build. It's something you can focus on from the start of the game, and that leaves plenty of options later on to play with on how to maximize the effectiveness of this build for the end game. Obviously I'm gonna update this build as soon as I reach maximum level, which is gonna take a little bit of time. But it's a good way to focus from the start to have something really good that can dish out enormous amount of damage while also being very good defensively through high dodge chance. Let's start with attribute points. I wasn't really paying too much attention to attribute points as long as I've put ferocity as my primary one. Crit chance, crit damage and dodge are three most important stats for this build. The only one that we can increase through attributes is critical chance, so that's why ferocity should be your primary one. As for the rest of the attributes, until level 30 or so, go for whatever you see fit. I think everything works, as long as critical hit chance is high. Gear setup should be something like this. As we already said, dodge, critical hit chance and critical damage are three most important stats for this build. However, you need to note that you start with 0 dodge chance. So if you continue building up dodge chance through percentages, meaning if you have 14% dodge chance score, 14% out of 0 is still 0. So we need as many gear pieces that offer raw number for dodge chance score, not the percentage. That means 61 dodge chance score, 30 something dodge chance score, 20 dodge chance score, whatever it is. As long as it's not a percentage, because this is what increases your base dodge stat. If you have high base dodge score, then you can add on top of that percentage increases through passive skills, gems and so on. Considering this is an assassin build, I am using 2 daggers because this is what makes most sense, although it might not be a perfect setup considering how willpower and rage work. So we are strictly rage focused build. Benefit of having 2 daggers is that daggers are the fastest melee weapon. That is good because then we don't need to focus so much on attack speed attribute. But you can still go for that as well. It's still a nice bonus if you have higher attack speed score. Though we will increase that through Wings of Ishmir skill. But I'm gonna cover that in skills section. Now for the passive skill tree. In the innermost circle we need to get to 2 very important nodes. One is called Covered Operative that increases dodge chance by 100% after taking a hit. Our normal dodge chance with this build at this level with the setup that I have is around 40% and it can go up to 50% with Dark Shroud skill upgrade. So now if we are in the Dark Shroud and we get hit, next attack cannot hit us, because then our dodge score would be 100%. I'm not sure if there is any cap to dodge chance, but if there isn't yet, there will be in the future. Next most important upgrade in the inner circle is called the Wild Card. Path to Wild Card increases critical hit damage, but Wild Card itself increases critical hit chance by 60%. Optional thing you can go for here is Second Wind that grants burst of health regen when you get down to 30% health. There's also more things you can go for in the inner circle, but that's up to you. This is what I went with. And now for the middle circle. For the middle circle we are going to focus on Assassin skill tree and one of the most important nodes for this build called Merciless Lethality. Path to Merciless Lethality increases critical hit chance score even further, and this skill on its own gives 100% critical hit damage increase, but it also reduces our base damage by 30%. That is why we need high crit chance. Next to that we can go to Phantom Strike that doubles the critical hit chance of the dash attack. I quite like dash attack in this game and it can do significant amount of damage. Problem with dash attack is that it has high cooldown. So I went with this node, Hunter's Vigor, that reduces its cooldown by 20%, but the problem is that this node is bugged. It should reduce cooldown for dash attack, but instead it increases it. So for now, don't go for this upgrade until it is fixed. Next important node on Assassin skill tree is Clandestine Execution, that increases damage to solo enemies within 7 meters by 25%. Path to Clandestine Execution should be like I have in this video, because that will increase dodge chance by a lot. When you get to Clandestine Execution, this skill on its own is not that good unless you are fighting bosses, because having one enemy solo within 7 meters is a rare occurrence. To make this skill better, use this upgrade called Paranoia that reduces range of Clandestine Execution by 3 meters. So this skill in general will shine the most against bosses. So that's all for the skill tree. These are the most important things you need to go for this build to work as it works right now. As for later, I would suggest going down this path that would increase dodge chance even further, get to Alastor upgrades, and then to Intravenous Neural Cord that increases attack speed by 75% for 3 seconds on critical hit. This works fantastic with this build, so that is the path that I would go for next. As for the rest, I didn't really pay much attention because there are so many possibilities where this build can go that I don't want to even think about it right now. As I said, there will be an updated version when I reach higher levels. Now for the active skills section. Wings of Fishmere grant 100 rage when used, so this is highly important for rage focused builds. Next to that, I'm gonna use upgrade that grants plus 30 more rage, random buff for each enemy hit on landing that can be either increased attack speed or increased damage from what I figured out. And also this last upgrade that increases dealt damage from you and your allies. This buff is not only active in the landing area, but it's actually connected to you directly, not the landing area, so either this skill doesn't work as it should, or the description is wrong. Next to that we have Dusk Shroud that grants invisibility and reduces threat, but more importantly there are fantastic upgrades of this skill, which is the reason why I have chosen it. First very important upgrade is called Leaps and Shifts that increases our dodge chance even further. Then we have Friendly Territory that affects every enemy in the area around us when we use this skill and applies Cursed status on them. Cursed status means they will receive more damage for the ailment duration. I also went with these two upgrades called Shooting Knight and Lapse in Focus that remove negative status effects when Dusk Shroud has been used. Next skill is called Slayer's Flurry, and this is amazing single target DPS damage ability. Not only that, but the initial movement of this skill is actually a dash attack, which means you can teleport around the battlefield as long as you have enough rage. So this not only works great as an offensive skill but also as a defensive skill. You have probably seen some insane high damage numbers at the start of this video when gameplay was shown, and this skill is the reason for it. Go strictly damage path, and this skill can do at level 30 or so up to 8000 damage per hit, which is just stupid. Last skill is called Evasion, and it is used as defensive and offensive action. Upgrade path that you should go for is Frenzy of the Betrayed that reduces its cooldown, Boiling Ink that grants rage for each enemy hit by the projectiles, then Barrage that increases number of projectiles, which in turn grants more rage generation, and also final upgrade, at least for level 30 or so, Shadow Cast that leaves 2 decoys, 1 decoy per projectile, that generate threat so that we can safely move from target to target while they are focusing on our decoys. That is the build. Now how to play it. First of all, have 1 rage potion and 1 health potion. There are 2 sequences you can do when starting a battle. In both versions you should start with Wings of Ishmir and then throw down Dusk Shroud. This will put cursed status on every enemy around you, you will receive buffs from Wings of Ishmir, and now you have two choices. Either go for evasion, that would teleport you out of harm's way and do a lot of damage while also leaving two decoys, after which you can use dash attacks to get back into the fight or use Havoc's Orb to hit enemies from afar. That's the first version. Second version after using Dusk Shroud is to use Havoc's Orb immediately, because that will affect a lot of enemies around you, and this is the best way to use the skill. Then when you get into trouble, use evasion to get away, and that's it. Now start using Slayer's Flurry to clear the remaining enemies and dash from target to target. Don't forget to use Rage Potion all the time. Havoc's Orb costs a lot of rage, so as soon there is charge available, spam that Rage Potion. Always keep an eye on your Rage Potion. That would be all for this build. I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.